Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you are having a very good day. Well, we said goodbye to 2020 a few weeks ago and had great hopes that 2021 was going to be so much better. But 2021 has brought its own set of challenges, and we're still struggling with this horrible pandemic. If you have contracted the coronavirus and are recovering, I want to wish you continued good health. If, unfortunately, you have lost loved ones to the pandemic, I want to express my deepest sympathy to you and your family. Today's exploration of African American culture brings us to something that's very dear to my heart, the accomplishments of African American women. So today's topic is important inventions of 5 African American women. We know that African American men and women have been in the trenches, at the forefront, and are the face of many important technologies and discoveries in the United States. And we've been at it since we were brought to these shores in slave ships. They say that necessity is the mother of invention. That is quite possibly true, because our slave ancestors were in the trenches trying to figure out how to do very difficult, laborious work. But through doing that, out of necessity, they made important inventions and discoveries. Their inventions and the inventions of their descendants have made life more comfortable and convenient, not only for Americans, but for people in the world. Today, we're going to meet 5 of those descendants who have made inventions and discoveries and done innovative work that will probably surprise you. Our first genius inventor is Marie Van Britten Brown. Marie Van Britten Brown invented the first home security system. She and her husband Albert were granted a patent for their invention in 1969. She was born in Massachusetts in 1922. As an adult, she moved to New York City, Queens, New York, where she married Albert Brown, and they had 2 children. Albert worked as an electrician, and she worked as a nurse. They didn't have the same work hours, so they weren't home at the same time. When she was alone with her children, she was afraid to open the door when someone came and knocked on the door. So she invented the 3-peephole system, where she could go to the door and look out to see who it was before she let them in. This was a high crime area, and police response time was slow. So she continued to add to her invention. She invented the video camera system, where she could videotape whoever was at the door. She also created a wireless television system so she could see who was at the door from wherever she was in the house. So she continued to improve on her invention, even to creating a system where when someone's at the door that she thought was not there for good purposes and she wanted to alert the police, she created a system where she could tap a button and let the police know that there was someone at the door that she didn't want there. So this system was adopted throughout the country and really throughout the world. This whole video surveillance system that we have now, it all started with this creation, this invention from Marie Van Britten Brown. So Marie Van Britten Brown, an African American woman, invented the first home security system and is the brainchild of this world security system that we live in now. So congratulations to Marie Van Britten Brown for proving once again that necessity is the mother of invention. Our next inventor is Dr. Shirley Ann Jackson. Dr. Jackson is a theoretical physicist and inventor who has conducted breakthrough research that enabled the invention of the fax, touch-tone telephone, solar cells, fiber optic cables, and the technology behind caller ID and call waiting. Dr. Jackson was born in Washington, D.C. in 1946 to parents that valued education and encouraged her in school. She received both the BS degree and the doctorate degree, the PhD degree, from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, which is the number 4th ranked university in the United States. This woman has put in the work. She has put in the work in academia, studying and teaching, and in private industry, researching and inventing. She has invented products that we use and take for granted in our everyday lives, but would never think that a black woman invented them. Her resume is quite impressive. In 1974, she became a visiting scientist at the European Organization for Nuclear Research in Switzerland. In 1995, President Clinton appointed her to serve as chairman of the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission. She became the first woman and the first African American to hold this position. In 1998, she was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame for her significant contributions as a distinguished scientist and advocate for education, science, and public policy. In 2012, she was appointed an International Fellow of the Royal Academy of Engineering, and in 2014, she was named a recipient of the National Medal of Science. Currently, she is the president of Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, the oldest technological research university in the United States. Dr. Jackson is married to Dr. Maurice Washington, a physicist also, and they are the parents of one son. She is also a Divine Nine member, a devastating diva of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, where she has served as president of her sorority. Her reach is local, national, and international, as the work that she's done in telecommunications has impacted the globe. We congratulate Dr. Shirley Ann Jackson on her outstanding inventions. Our next genius inventor is Dr. Betty Wright Harris. Dr. Harris is a chemist and an expert on explosives and the treatment of hazardous waste. Dr. Harris's outstanding invention is developing a spot test for detecting explosives in a field environment. This test is used by the military, the Department of Homeland Security, and other industries to quickly determine whether or not a particular kind of nuclear explosive is present. In 1986, Dr. Harris received a patent for her invention, and this is important for any black inventor because a patent is an official document and it gives the inventor control over who may use his or her invention. Dr. Harris was born in Monroe, Louisiana in 1940. She was raised on a farm with 11 siblings. She graduated from high school at 16 and enrolled at Southern University in Baton Rouge. Southern University is a historically black university. At Southern University, she majored in chemistry and minored in mathematics. At the age of 19, she graduated from Southern and enrolled at Atlanta University in Atlanta, Georgia, to pursue her master's degree. Atlanta University is also a historically black university. Upon receiving her master's degree, Dr. Harris taught as an assistant professor of chemistry and mathematics at Mississippi Valley State University, a historically black university, Southern University, her alma mater, and Colorado College. I want to congratulate Dr. Harris for staying true to her HBCU roots. In 1975, she received the PhD degree in chemistry from the University of New Mexico. Dr. Harris is noted for the research she did at Los Alamos National Laboratory in New Mexico, when she worked in the areas of hazardous waste treatment and environmental remediation. Dr. Harris has done focused research on explosives detection, safe in liquids, synthesis and characterization of insensitive high explosives, and sensitivity of weathered high explosives. So she has done thorough and extensive research in the detection of explosives and also in the handling and cleanup of nuclear materials. I want to emphasize again that the military and the Department of Homeland Security used the test that Dr. Harris developed to detect the presence of nuclear explosives. Dr. Harris's invention is significant in that it saves lives. Being able to detect nuclear explosives is very important, particularly in a war-torn area where civilian populations can be seriously injured or killed. It is also important in protecting our own military men and women and equipment. For the last 11 years of her career, Dr. Harris worked at the U.S. Department of Energy as a certified document reviewer. She has received high recognition for her accomplishments. Dr. Harris has received the New Mexico Governor's Trailblazer Award. She's recognized as a distinguished African American scientist by the National Academy of Sciences. She's a member of Women in Science and Engineering, as well as American Association for the Advancement of Science. She's served as a president of the New Mexico Business and Professional Women's Organization, and she's a 50-year member of the American Chemical Society. Dr. Harris has reached out to the next generation by recruiting women and minorities into the fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and she's collaborated with the Girl Scouts to create the chemistry badge. Dr. Harris is the mother of 3 children. She's a quiet giant who has done a tremendous service for humanity. So I say congratulations to Dr. Betty Wright Harris. Our next genius inventor is Dr. Gladys West. Dr. West is a mathematician and is known for the modeling of the shape of the earth and for the development of the satellite geodesy models. Dr. West is the inventor of the GPS, the Global Positioning System. It is a system that is used all over the world. It tells us where we are and helps us to get where we would like to go in a user-friendly manner. Were it not for GPS, many of us would not be able to get very far from home. Dr. West was born in 1930 in Dinwiddie County, Virginia, to a family of tobacco farmers. Her father also worked on the railroad. She graduated from high school in 1948, having earned a full ride scholarship to Virginia State College, now Virginia State University, which is a historically black university. At Virginia State, she majored in mathematics. After graduating from college in 1952, Dr. West taught high school mathematics for several years. She continued her pursuit of education, and in 1955, she earned a master's degree from Virginia State University. In 1956, she was hired to work at the Naval Proving Ground in Dahlgren, Virginia, which is now the Naval Surface Warfare Center. At the Warfare Center, she was a programmer for large-scale computers and a project manager for data processing systems that were used in the analysis of satellite data. She also earned a second master's degree in public administration from the University of Oklahoma. In the early 1960s, she participated in an award-winning astronomical study that proved the regularity of Pluto's motion relative to Neptune. She began to analyze data from satellites, putting together altimeter models of the Earth's shape. She also became project manager for the CSAT radar altimetry project, the first satellite that could remotely sense oceans. She was consistently putting in extra hours, cutting her team's processing time in half, and she was recommended for a commendation in 1979, which tells how seriously she took her job as project manager. From the mid-1970s through the 1980s, Dr. West programmed an IBM computer to deliver increasingly precise calculations to model the shape of the Earth. She employed complex algorithms to account for variations in gravitational, tidal, and other forces that distort the shape of the Earth. Her data ultimately became the basis for the Global Positioning System, which we know as GPS. In 1986, she published Data Processing System Specifications for the GeoSat Satellite Radar Altimeter. It is a 51-page technical report from the NSWC, the Naval Surface Weapons Center. This guide explained how to increase the accuracy of the estimation of geoid heights and vertical deflection, which is important to the satellite geodesy. In other words, she did the research for this system and she published how she did it. And this is another way of documenting what she did, because otherwise, somehow, somebody else would have received credit for it. This is my opinion based on how Black inventors have been treated historically in America. Dr. West worked at the Warfare Center for 42 years, retiring in 1998. In retirement, she's earned a PhD degree in public administration from Virginia Tech. The world was using the GPS system, but it did not come to light who had invented this technology until Dr. West's sorority sisters, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, of which I am also a member, asked for her biography to give for a program they were having, and she submitted an account of the work she had done at the Dahlgren Center. Since then, Dr. West has received recognition, awards, and accolades for the outstanding work that she did. The Air Force recognizes her as a hidden figure, an African-American woman who did manual computations for the military before the age of electronic systems. In 2018, she was inducted into the United States Air Force Hall of Fame, one of the highest honors bestowed by Air Force Space Command. She was selected by the British Broadcasting Company as part of their 100 Women of 2018. As an alumna of Virginia State University, Dr. West was awarded Female Alumna of the Year for the year 2018. In the same year, she was recognized by the Virginia State Legislature and given a standing ovation. As part of the resolution given by the state of Virginia, it said, whereas Gladys West worked at Naval Support Facility Dahlgren for 42 years. During the 1950s and 1960s, her calculations and mathematical work contributed to the development of the modern Global Positioning System, GPS. What an honor for Dr. West. Dr. West appears to be a very humble person. She has said that she had no idea at the time of her work that it would affect so many. She said, when you're working every day, you're not thinking, what impact is this going to have on the world? You're thinking, I've got to get it right. Well, we can agree that she got it right. She is married to Ira West. They met at the Warfare Center. They've been married since 1957, which will make 64 years this year. They are the parents of 3 children and 7 grandchildren. So we congratulate Dr. West on her long marriage and also on her outstanding contribution to the world in giving us the global positioning system. Thank you, Dr. West. Our last genius inventor is Katherine Coleman Johnson. Katherine Johnson is a mathematician and is known for calculating trajectories for NASA missions. In 1953, she was one of the first African Americans to be hired at the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. From 1953 to 1958, she was a computer. This was the beginning of the space age in the United States. The electronic computers that we use today were not yet a reality, so human beings were the computers. Her first assignment was to analyze gust alleviation for aircraft. She was assigned to the West Area Computers section, which was supervised by mathematician Dorothy Vaughan. They were the original Hidden Figures. We know that the West Area Computers section was an area designated for African American women because in 1953, the National Aeronautics Space Administration was segregated, just like the rest of America. In 1958, the NASA center that Katherine Johnson worked was called Langley. She was an aerospace technologist and was later moved to the Spacecraft Controls Branch. She calculated the trajectory for the May 5, 1961 spaceflight of Alan Shepard, the first American in space. She also calculated the launch windows for his 1961 Mercury mission. She plotted backup navigation charts for astronauts in case of electronic failures. When NASA used electronic computers for the first time to calculate John Glenn's orbit around Earth, officials called on her to verify the computer's numbers. John Glenn had asked for her specifically and had refused to fly unless her numbers verified the calculations. In other words, he had more confidence in her and her calculations than he did in the electronic computers. What a compliment to Katherine Johnson. In reference to this, Margaret Lee Shetterly, author of Hidden Figures, said, "So the astronaut who became a hero looked to this black woman in the still segregated South at the time as one of the key parts of making sure his mission would be a success. Her calculations of orbital mechanics were critical to the success of the first and subsequent U.S. space flights. In 1961, her work helped to ensure that Alan Shepard's Freedom 7 Mercury capsule would be found quickly after landing using the accurate trajectory that she had established. In 1969, she helped calculate the trajectory for the 1969 Apollo 11 flight to the moon. It blows my mind that she was a part of that. In 1970, she worked on the Apollo 13 moon mission. When the mission was aborted, her work on backup procedures and charts helped set a safe path for the crew's return to Earth. She created a one-star system that would allow astronauts to determine their location with accuracy. In a 2010 interview, she said, "Everybody was concerned about getting them there. We were concerned about getting them back." This statement alone explains why astronauts place their confidence in Katherine Johnson. Katherine Johnson later worked directly with digital computers. Her ability and reputation for accuracy helped to establish confidence in the new technology, the technology that we now take for granted. Katherine Johnson's brains and brilliance were in the DNA of all of those early space flights. Later in her career, she worked on the Space Shuttle program, the Earth Resources Satellite, and on plans for a mission to Mars. It cannot be overstated that Katherine Johnson was a pioneer and major player in America's early space program. She set the course for what was being done then, what's being done now, and what will be done in the future. Katherine Johnson was born Creola Katherine Coleman on August 26, 1918, in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. She was the youngest of 4 children. Her mother was a teacher, and her father was a lumberman, farmer, a handyman, just a jack of all trades, a black man doing what he had to do to support his family. At an early age, it was recognized that Katherine was intellectually gifted with a special aptitude towards mathematics. She graduated from high school at the age of 14 and enrolled at West Virginia State College, now West Virginia State University, a historically black university. After graduating from college, she married James Goebel and began teaching school. Eventually, they moved to Hampton, Virginia, where both of them began working at Langley Memorial Aeronautical Laboratory. Unfortunately, James Goebel died in 1956. In 1959, she married Jim Johnson, a United States Army officer and veteran of the Korean War. This marriage lasted for 60 years until his death in 2019. Katherine Johnson died on February 24, 2020, at the age of 101. She leaves behind a rich and comprehensive legacy to her daughters, 6 grandchildren, and 11 great-grandchildren. Her many accolades and awards are too numerous to mention, but here are some. She was presented with the Congressional Medal of Freedom, the highest medal given to a civilian in the United States. She was included on the BBC's list of 100 Women of Influence in 2016. In 2017, she was awarded a Medal of Honor by the Daughters of the American Revolution. In 2020, a satellite named after her was launched into space, and her alma mater, West Virginia State University, has erected a life-size statue in her honor. She was one of the main characters in the book Hidden Figures and also in the movie. Mattel Toy Company created a Barbie doll in her image. She has received a Silver Snoopy Award, and this is an award I think that is given for someone who's made great contribution to science. And she has also received a Congressional Gold Medal. Last but not least, NASA, her employer, National Aeronautics Space Administration, presented her with the Group Achievement Award in 2016. So apparently she worked well with others. On May 5th, 2016, a 40,000 square foot facility at Langley Research Center was named in her honor. So NASA came through. She received numerous honorary doctorate degrees from prestigious colleges and universities. She was also a lady of faith, a 50-year member of Carver Memorial Presbyterian Church in Hampton, Virginia, as well as a lifelong member of Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I am overwhelmed by the grace, the perseverance, the discipline, and the outstanding workmanship of these 5 women. I am so proud of them. Unfortunately, as African Americans, we don't know our history, or we don't know enough about our history. Fortunately for us, we have means now of learning about ourselves as well as the ones that came before us. In the case of Dr. Shirley Jackson, Dr. Betty Harris, and Dr. Gladys West, they're still here. And in the case of Katherine Johnson, she could also be called doctor because she's received many honorary doctorate degrees. She lived long enough for her story to be told. And so we're so thankful that we have these wonderful legacies. And we have to pass it on to the next generation and the next, so they will know whose shoulders they stand on and what blocks were laid before them to build upon. Congratulations to all of these wonderful, outstanding women.